All right. So for those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Hinkle. I am a production team lead in Grand Rapids here. My counterpart is not here right now. There's another production team leader that we co-lead the production teams here. I'm also an application developer. Try to spend at least half my time still programming, which is a challenge. Joel's laughing at me right now. But yeah, so that's me. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about some updates to the developer tools that we have. And hopefully there's some exciting stuff to see here. Hopefully we can last an hour. I don't know how long this is going to take me because it could go over or under. I don't know. We'll see. But here are the rough things that I'm going to cover. Don't get too excited about Git at this point. Just a minor update. I know a few people are excited about it, but I guess, yeah, we'll get there. So, yeah, we'll get there.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got this new sweet tool, I think. Some may like it, some may not. You know, if you're an Emacs purist, this may not be something that's as exciting to you, but I think a lot of those people are mostly working for Configure these days. So hopefully you guys are a bit more excited about this. We've got a new, what we'd start to call an IDE. It's basically got Emacs in it, some neat stuff. Just on a high level, here are some of the main additions that are not additions, that are the things that are in here right now that are all in one spot. We'll kind of go through these. I'm actually going to pull it up here for you so you can see it. Let me make sure. Yep. So this used to be called Code Companion. Code Companion has evolved into this now, and Code Companion will no longer exist, though all the functionality of Code Companion will still exist in this tool. It's going to live in the same spot, but let me pull this up for you so you can see if I can. All right, and we don't see anything. Hang on. I guess I have to kill my presentation. All righty. All right, so here's our is an internal beta for Operator. As far as an ETA and when this is released, I know it's soon, but it is not available to you guys quite yet. I believe it's targeted to be around 9.5 that this is rolling out to all of you. So here is the dev, CET dev. Something that's kind of neat about this, I think it's neat. I can close this. There's my Emacs window. Alt-O. Did it work? Maybe I have to have focus. There we go. There we go. Pops you back into there. You can click the button or Alt-O and Emacs. Boom. Takes you in, docks it. There you go. And to go through some of the neat features that we have here, one of the things I really like, this new display here. You haven't gotten rid of your compilation window, but you can kind of get rid of it. I'm not sure if I close this buffer, I think my Emacs settings are actually going to reopen one automatically, but let's see what happens. Most people won't have that kind of a situation going on. If you close your buffer, it should be just fine. Yeah, see, it reopened it for me. So I'll just minimize it here. But for example, compile, everything is good. Let's put something in there that's not going to compile. Should add S to material. Compile. Boom. Error is now showing up in here. I can double click this error. It's going to take me straight to it. So keeps you on the mouse a little bit, but it is a little bit clearer. I'm sure there's going to be much more improvement to this in the future. This is a very early stage to this tool. So as soon as it's released, get these feature requests in. Anything you guys think needs to be added to this, get it to us because it's really for you guys. So if this tool is not useful, we want to make it useful. I like this error display. I think it's pretty neat. You still have, like you said, you still have the Emacs buffer still there, but it tells you right here what the problem is, where it's at. You can double click it, it takes you to that location. You might, in most cases, be able to get away from really scrolling through that compiler window as much as you normally do. For some reason, I compiled twice. I'll clear those out. Something else that's kind of cool, you got this file view here. Finding files is still right here. And then you have the tree view. So any of these, just double click, oop, there it is, take you to it. So that can be pretty handy. There's this area down here, which I have minimized. This is, I think, some of the bits from Code Companion that were there. So you have this little window that you can have here with some of the information that Code Companion would have had in there immediately available to you. But in addition to it being there, the reason I haven't minimized is because you can just do this. Right-click your tab, and you'll notice any new buffer gets a tab created for it. I'm pointing at my screen like you guys can see what I'm pointing at, but so these things, each one generates a tab up here. If you got something to do with that particular buffer, you can right-click, you can browse to it, you can actually submit that file right from here. P4 submit, just click that. It should pull up Perforce and a submit dialog. Done. Pretty neat. You can diff it right there. Diff, look at the history. I really like this display. I don't use it a ton, but when I need it, it's pretty handy. And there's some Emacs functions that'll show you this information as well, but this is a nice graphical. Has anybody seen this stuff? Who has seen this stuff? Okay, so this has existed actually for a while in the Code Companion, I believe, right, Joel? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this type of these tools are kind of been dispersed, I guess, through Operator. And so this is, also an attempt to kind of consolidate these into one area. But this is pretty useful. I mean, you can look at the classes that are subclasses to this object, or the classes that are existing in this file. I'm sorry. It's going to give me some information here in a second. It just takes a minute. I have a feeling that one will work better. Yep, there we go. I can look at this class. I believe I can look at subclasses of this class, and then they can even look at parent classes of this class. All this stuff is right in this tree view. That's super handy. I think this is a big package here. Yeah, it's runtime. Yeah, so that's probably why it's going so slow. Let's see here. Am I missing? I don't want to breeze over anything that's too crazy. The right-click menu, you get all this neat stuff. Finding files is still here. Let's look at this again just to make sure. Yep, that's it. So this is, this is a start to, on a bigger screen, like you can see on this screen, it's kind of restricting your Emacs buffers a little bit. All these things are shrinkable, but I kind of feel like maybe some penning features will be good here. So as we progress down this, I'm sure things like that are going to pop up. On a large monitor, this is really great. That was a crash to that tree view, so not sure what happened there. So moving on-ish. Not from here, from current slide. All right. So the next big thing that has changed a lot is Build Center. Something I kind of skipped over that you might have seen in the IDE was that Build Center is actually a tab in that IDE now. So it is still an independent program you can start, but it as well is tabbed right into the IDE. So now you can just, especially handy when you're making builds and you're making changes to get that build working or whatever's going on, you can be flipping back and forth. It's a little cleaner. Huge benefit to Build Center right now is you'll notice these bars across the top. Anybody have a guess what that is indicating? Oh, it already tells you right there. I skipped ahead. So pretty sweet, right? Up until now, anytime you made a build, how long did you have to wait if you had to build everything? Quite a while, right? I can think of times at least spending 45 minutes waiting for core and abstracts and all that crap to build. I did a test with this recently. I want to say it took me 5 minutes to make a full build from a clean. So it's a huge improvement in my opinion. There's a few other things that are being called out here. The UI has been updated similarly to the CET dev tool. So your errors are again going to be popping up here, and everybody knows those error logs and Build Center can be a bit difficult to really parse through. So you can get a little more of a condensed version of the error here, but you'll still also be able to look at the log normally in a much bigger window, actually. I'll show you guys that in a second. let's see, what else is significant? This filtering stuff on the side, this is super handy. We've had views for a long time. They're okay. I still use them, but as soon as I got this filtering feature in the beta, I pretty much stopped using my views. I have a feeling this will replace it at some point because it's just easier. You can just grab whatever one you're looking at and click it, and it takes you down to there. So let's see here. Let's pull that guy up too and see what we can do with it. I'm not gonna make a build right now. That'd be a massive waste of everybody's time, I think. But so here's Build Center running independently. So let's not do that. That's boring. It's in a tab. Whee! So again, it gets a little cluttered in here, but I think it's better than all the window flipping that would occur, previously. Anybody who's made a lot of builds and troubleshooting build errors, it can be a nightmare of, submitting and trying and this and update. It's crazy. So I think this is going to streamline things a lot. If I was using it like this, I'd probably pull this over here when I'm doing the build, but I'm just going to pull it over for now so we have a little more room. So here's this filtering. I just want to look at core. Hey, there you go. I can click that, build, done. You'll notice that little plus is gone. You just double click to expand it now, or single click. If we can get one that has a log, let's see what that one looks like. Here's what the log will do. So the log gets tabbed, and now you still have your error screen down here, but you have a lot more room to read this log, which in Build Center previously, everybody's always doing that. Pull the window up so you can see the whole freaking log, go back down, all that stuff. I mean, it's minor stuff, but this will, I think, like I said, this is going to streamline a lot of the pain in the build process that people go through. Builds still are going to be tricky. We're not going to make them foolproof. We can't. But once you're used to it, it's not too bad. Let's see here. What else do I want to see? There's some extra right-click functionality on all these things. I can look straight to the code. Oops. So I have to open this up. Sorry. Take me straight to the code. I think this should have updated maybe in here. Oops, sorry, in my Emacs buffer. No, it doesn't look like it did. I'm not exactly sure what show code is supposed to do, to be honest. Maybe it's just that package that's not quite working. Overall, though, Build Center's parallel building, I think, is the biggest advantage here. It just happens a lot faster. I mean, I hated waiting for builds. So back to here, go back to here. So Git. So the extent of what I can basically tell you about Git, you can see my notes down here, but we'll go from here. R&D core, they are currently working on Git. During this migration, they're doing weekly merges over to Perforce. I think it's weekly, maybe more often. We're really trying to explore this to find out if it is the right decision. I know some people, I think the majority of people are pretty excited, but some people are also probably a little apprehensive about it because it's a big change and it's a little bit more difficult to use. One thing that I'll say to put your mind at ease, if you're scared of using Git, all the tools are going to be in Operator. Let me actually pull that up for you. I'm not going to do anything with it. Oh wait, now it's gone. Okay. That's strange. I just updated it today, so he must have done something to take it away from this particular data. There is a Add Git Workspace button right here, and you will work with Git through it's very simple. You'll be doing it's a lot of the same. Like you'll right-click your stuff. You'll have all the same tools right through Operator. I wish I had it to show it. I assumed it was going to be here, and it's gone all of a sudden. So don't worry if you're afraid. It is more complicated, but it's not going to be too bad, and it's really just about getting used to it. I personally learned Git in school. I haven't used it since then, but I plan to probably stick to the command line side of it because that's what I was used to in my education, and I feel like it's good. So, any other questions I can get while I'm still sitting here? Who's excited for it? Oh, what's up? File history. Now it's so Perforce is not going away, and I don't know that it will ever completely go away. Perforce though, I'm not sure. I know we plan to migrate history over, and there's going to be tools to bring that history into Git. How it's going to work and all that, I don't have too many answers on that, and I know that's one of the things they're exploring right now. Rolf, is he here at the moment? He might know a little bit more information about that. I think he's gone. So yeah, I don't have too many details. I know that it's being thought about, and we're not just going to say no more file history. So don't worry too much about that. I mean, what in my head, what's going to be a huge advantage to Git, and I know all of you guys have probably struggled with I want this feature in core, or I fixed this thing, or I saw this issue in core, or whatever. You'll be able to submit merge requests, and those are things that we'll actually be able to sift through and more easily integrate into core from you guys. I mean, that's the idea, is that it's a better platform, and it's going to help us streamline the community contributing to the code base. Perforce doesn't do that real well. Perforce is really easy to use, but yeah. So just stay tuned on that stuff. Nothing's going to be happening soon. I would say at the earliest, I might see production internally at Configure looking at Git in early 2019 at the earliest, probably. So, and that would be, and if we're getting to that point, that means we're basically committing to doing it, and we're just trying to really iron out all those issues before we throw you guys in there, because we don't want to be switching you to Git and break your workflow. Alrighty, continuing on. So the next portion of my talk is going to be kind of focused on the developer extensions that exist in CET. How many of you guys actually use these right now? A couple, internal people, you guys do. All right, so there's been some significant additions to this, I think, over the last probably 2 years at least. Some of it's been sort of silent, and we're just kind of slipping them in there until we can, present it. And I think we're close to that point here. That's kind of why I'm here today, talking to you guys about it. Something to note, though, the original debug tools tab, I'm being told, is going to get deprecated. Everything that is in there currently is going to be represented either the exact tool in another tab or a new version of that tool that's better. Same thing for these trace. So again, you guys haven't used it, but these options to time things, these are going to exist now in the response monitor. So this one will stay, but all these are going because it exists here in a nice little UI. So little update on those things. Nothing hopefully too concerning for anybody. Something to note too, anytime you have a question, just yell at me. I'm not worried about being interrupted. So how many of you guys are going to be here tomorrow for the performance hunt workshop? That's it? Okay. Well, tomorrow we're going to be doing some performance hunting in your extension. We're mostly going to be targeting low-level or low-hanging fruit. That's what I'm trying to say. So we're not going to try and dive into anything too crazy. If we need to, we definitely can set up a way to talk about that in the future, but we're only going to have 2 hours tomorrow. Where we're really going to be targeting on is some of these things in performance where you can time your drawing loads, your startup times, the things you can trace and stretch and all that. And caching, graphics caching. How many of you guys do graphics caching in your extension? Okay, so any of you who didn't raise your hand, that's gonna be the first thing we do. we will just basically look at adding some caching, because that's really your first gain in performance. Now, if it's not doable, we'll look at other things, but let's get some caching in. I mean, it's critical, and keep in mind that your extensions, the Debatic guys know this better than anything. Your extensions are going to be used in large freaking drawings, and it's larger and larger going forward. So, you don't want to be that extension who's bogging down all the other good performing extensions. That's just going to be an easy way to get users not specifying your product. Now, I don't know how many of you guys are management in this room and truly care about that, but it is an important thing. So, all right. So some of these performance tools that I think are critical for this. Startup times. So these things, this is often an easy thing to get better. And you'll see some extensions that have ridiculously long startup times. I accidentally left Nolan here because I had them running at this point. But, you want to get that down. We don't have to restart very often, but why have it be long? Why make it take a long time to start the software? Drawing loads as well, huge one. So, and those are generally two areas. We have a lot of tools to trace out where your problems are for these. So there's really no excuse. I mean, let's just get them fixed. And 2 hours, hopefully, is a good amount of time to do it. Now, we've done this internally a couple of times, and when we do it internally, we take a full day to do this. And we all take the extensions we currently work on and pretty much do exactly this stuff, but just spend a little more time and really dive into it. And we found some crazy stuff before, stuff that I've done. One thing I did to these poor guys, I was early on in my journey here as a developer, and I added instances of an object to the cache key. What do you guys think that does? Yep. Real useless. So everybody makes these mistakes. There's no reason to be embarrassed about this stuff, especially when you're new, and you're going to have stuff that you dig up from your early days in your extension that you're going to go, what was I doing? We've seen things, file reads in animations on mouse move. That's a big one that can be pretty heavy. Large databases that are packaged with the extension, that's another large thing. Not to call anybody out here. I know some people are thinking they know who they are, but these are things that sometimes you can't avoid it. So there's a balance you got to strike here, but you want to at least make the user's experience good. So continuing on with those performance tools, let's take a look at this one. So this is the response monitor. So this is made by our R&D team in Sweden. Guy's name Henrik, I believe, is the one who made this. And right now, I think it's primarily being used by our QA team. And it's a pretty neat tool, actually. So previously, all those traces just got dumped into your compilation buffer. Some of you might want that. Who knows? QA does not. They don't like dev. They want an interface for it. So that's what this is. And you'll see there's a whole bunch of stuff that's timed and traced out in there, and it's telling you what it's doing. It's good information. You can often zero in on an area that's problematic. Something here took 2 seconds. What was that? A wall line insert animation. Well, that kind of makes sense, but that seems a little heavy, maybe? I don't know. So let's take a look at this tool in action. Maybe. Shit, where'd my CET go? So let's start this guy up again. So all these tools right here that I'm going to talk about today are under this set of extensions or this one. Okay, just an FYI. And you won't have my Canon. Nope. How many of you guys did the Canon? Nice. Anybody who's been around has done it. It's a good exercise. we've seen a couple of our people make some crazy cannons. It was Zach. He was here. He'll be here today later on. He made a cannon, and it had, was it Zach, right? Or was it Colin?
It was Connor.
Connor?
Who made the game.
Okay, yeah. And it's amazing. I didn't get even half of the way through with that guy. He was an intern. So, all right, looking at this tool. So performance tools are right here. Notice those are gone, but notice this is still here. So that's why I told you. So here's the response monitor. Boom, starts up. This will always be on top of anything you do, and anything you do in CET is now being timed. Not anything, but a lot of things that you do in CET. So let's turn to Fika for a second here. Do I not have, oh, there it is. Hey, you guys seen that new feature? Ooh. Is OFS in here? Nobody from OFS in here? Yeah. I think you guys were the ones that really were an inspiration for this, I believe, or your users at least. So people were complaining that tabs were just too many of them. And now, if you want to collapse a tab, you just double click it, and it'll collapse everything in that group into one tab. And there's going to be more to come to this. If you have input on that, pass it along. I think it's a pretty sweet tool. One of our interns in the US actually this summer did that with Magnus. So it's pretty sweet. So yes, and as far as outside of that, I think it also will work with custom grouping that you define in your view modes. Like your custom grouping, you can define that, and I forget how to do it, but there's like an interface for defining your own groups. So you can define your own groups that'll collapse. It's pretty fully customizable at this point. I expect there'll be more, because I know that like you might want to, like, I think something that I would like to see, I'm getting a little off topic here, but is maybe to pin one in that spot, but collapse everything else in that extension, or maybe 2 or 3 and collapse, which you probably could do actually. I think if you just pinned it to the top. I wonder what happens if you do that actually. Let's see. We got time. We got half an hour, so let's pin office. All right. Now I'm going to collapse Fika. Yeah, it keeps it up there. So I guess we kind of already have that. So hopefully this really helps our users. This is, and you guys maybe, I don't know, maybe in your workflow this will affect, but this is mostly for users. I mean, most developers don't have 100 tabs, but somebody who's running Hayworth, OFS, all these next to each other, man, they got way too many tabs. They're scrolling for days. Not fun. So, all right, back to what I was looking at here. So this has really been used by this stupid mouse in this. Okay, anyway, used by QA. Start off here. There's a group of settings. All these are the things that you can toggle to be traced or not traced. Priority tasks, I think, is one that I was, and I don't remember exactly what every one of these is doing. We're going to get some documentation down about this, I promise. I was only exposed to this fairly recently, so I've been asking as many questions as I can, and a few people are using it, but it's still fairly new. So all these things are the areas you can potentially trace. User-defined traces, I haven't got any details as to what those are. I'm not sure they're done yet. Like I said, this is a very new tool. I'm not even this should be available to you guys, but I am in 9.5 right now, and I am a configure internal person, so maybe I have access to stuff that you don't. So if you don't see these things, let me know. We'll get you access. There's no reason to not have access for you guys. Something that's kind of neat about this, and they were showing me, so let's see what we can do here. Let's go back to Fika. Let's put a panel in. Let's do, I don't know, something like that. So there's these scripts. Now, scripts is a little bit of a, I want to be careful with the word scripts here. You guys aren't able to define these at this point. We're not certain that is ever going to be a thing, because with this tool you can get yourself into a lot of crashy situations, let's just say. But there are a number of these functionalities available that you can kind of automate in a test, you know. So you could put a bunch of stuff in there. You could say, I want to group it then I want to freeze it, then I want to unfreeze it, and then I'm going to replicate it everywhere and create a block, okay? And I can run that on what's in this drawing. It's going to give me some issues. If it detects, it has some intelligence built into this so that it can kind of keep, because again, this is used by our QA, so they're not developers. They don't know what they're going to do that gets them into a situation for an infinite loop or a crash or whatever. So this kind of tells them, hey, you might have done something in a stupid order. Let's see what happens. I'm going to auto-resolve it because it should be able to fix itself. And I think what it added there was an undo. And I forgot why that was. So I didn't have two disconnected snappers. I do have two snappers, but not two disconnected snappers. So let's put one right there. You got to have two disconnected snappers in order for that to work. Run the script. Boom. Does its thing. Times it all. Does a replicate. It comes out and does a bunch of crazy stuff. All right. So I'm showing you dumb use cases for this, but this is an interesting tool for QA, an interesting tool for testing. I mean, for devs to test their performance. Input on this again is welcomed. You know, let us know what you guys think we need. Again, this is not just a tool for us to use. It started that way, but we want to make it useful for all of you guys. And if it's not useful, then what's the point? So let us know what you need. No promises on when things get done or if they are. You know, that's a different discussion. But we welcome the input. My computer's been doing that today. I don't know what that's all about. All right, back to this guy from current slide. I believe this, nope, there's still one more performance tool that I want to show you guys. This one's pretty sweet, and this one's real simple. So graphics, another huge area where people are not respecting the performance issues that come with it. Do we need, you know, a bracket with 40,000 triangles on there showing screw holes and threads and all that junk? No. Do you need to show this mesh? No. Work mode doesn't need any of that stuff, and you're just bogging down the system's graphics. So this tool right here will pretty clearly tell you where you have graphical issues in your product. Now I put a bunch of Fika stuff in here, and it looks pretty good. Nothing red, at least. The extension I work on, Null, we had a few things that are still red in there. We're working on getting the graphics cleaned up, right, Brandon? Yeah. But you know, this is a great thing for. Often you can make this argument like, hey, your graphics are too heavy, too many triangles. When you're talking to the person who can change it, they might think it needs to be that way, or they might think it's not that bad. This kind of breaks it down for what we think it should be and gives you some ammunition to kind of send over to whomever you need to say, no, this is garbage. We need to fix this. It's a dumpster fire. So let's see how this goes. And I'll give you a little more. We'll get in here. So let's see. We've got to go to. So this was a tool that was made by KL actually. And there's a ton of other stuff in here. So I only picked a few of the things that I thought were interesting to me. I could be skipping over stuff that is way more applicable to you guys. So I'm sorry if I'm doing that, but you know, dig through these extensions. If you have questions, post them in the forum. Send it to dev support. Send it to whomever. Dev support guy's right there. He'll answer all your questions. One of the dev support guys. Actually, two of them are here today. So, but you know, if you have any questions regarding these tools, send them in. And right now, I think a few of them are in a little bit of migration trouble at the moment. We're 9.5, still early yet. So bear with us while we iron out all the bugs through these things. So we put all this stuff in here. I immediately pull it up. I'm gonna hit update, and it gives me this information about the panels. I'm gonna open up a drawing that I made earlier. Fika stuff. Yes, I have my house in CET. Working on a remodel these days. All right, so close that down. We got whoa, what happened? There we go. So we got some Fika junk in here. Let's pull up model performance again. Boom, there it is. So you got this right here, and this is pretty straightforward and clear. There's nothing much to understanding this. It tells you exactly what it is and what you kind of should be targeting. That's what that second number is. What I find pretty useful. Now there's these other tabs that give you more information. So if you're missing LODs, it's important. Define your level of details. We don't want everything to be on one. Maybe that's applicable. I mean, situationally, it changes. Why are you guys giggling?
It's following along more extensions.
Well, that's what we're doing here tomorrow.
Black is worse than red.
Is black like death? It's probably got like a skull and crossbones. It's all right. See, the nice thing though is we got tools to fix these things quickly. I mean, you have issues with your triangle counts in your stuff. It's going to be models, and we got a batch converter. If you've got 15,000 models, now you're in a world of shit at that point. But pretty soon you're going to have, CM-Sim's going to be hitting the ground pretty soon here. You guys are learning about that today, hopefully. And that I think is we're going to see a drastic reduction in the number of models that people are moving in, especially once it's fully integrated into catalog data symbol. It's going to be huge. I think we'll be able to get quite a ways to what you would consider a PGC extension without writing a line of code. And that's a big step. But we'll see. CM-Sim it's going to be a game changer, but it's still not done. It's available to you guys, but yeah. So anyway, back to this. This was one of the cool things I thought. This Excel dump is awesome. You just basically click the Excel dump, save it, and because we know how much managers love Excel, right? Well, gives me my Excel dump. I open it up. Now I got something to send over to my customer or to your boss or whoever to clearly communicate where the problems are. There's no argument to be had, no discussion to be had anymore. If you're seeing your high count way up here and your recommended is here, that's a big issue. There's never really a good reason for it. You can always have super. That's why super is up to 200,000. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of triangles. Super can be whatever you want. Renders will always be great, but low, medium, and high should always be very conservative. You don't need the detail. The users, I believe they don't care. When they want the detail, they'll render, and that's that's what they do. So they want it to be fast. They want it to be snappy. So get these things optimized. Somebody said it to me this morning, and I might have said it already actually, but there really is no excuse at this point now. In the past, we never had these tools available to you guys to really key in on where these areas are. Now we do. So let's embrace it and get these things. I'm not saying I see widespread issues out there about this, but it's an easy thing to overlook. You just want to keep plowing through your tasks and writing code, and we'll get to the models later, and project manager says that, and it just never happens. And so, yeah. So, was it this one here? Okay. Yep, green is what you have. Yep. So because, okay, so the way that your LODs get determined is how far away is your camera from that object, I believe at least. Between these, you don't really need, these are all work mode level of details. So you really don't need to see too much variance in what they are. You've got enough to give at least a little bit of a jump here for high, You know, but between these two, you're very, like this low is most of the time a solid shape of some kind, square or a, you know, or a cube or a sphere or something that's, you're zoomed out so far, you wouldn't even be able to see detail on there if it was on the model. So these are just the numbers that our people have come up with as our benchmarks at what we think is appropriate and good. I don't know the details on that. I wouldn't, but I mean, I just know that it's just my, you know, like I said earlier, this is the one that you want to have your detail in. Anything else really should, these can be all the same. You know, this and this will change when you're zooming real close into things. And I don't even know, do you know exactly what that point is when you switch to high? I know we've worked with these things before, but
I don't remember exactly how far in you gotta go, but
yeah, that's right. There is
that chameleon snapper that I extended my teapot from has some of that behavior in it.
Where's the color for LODs again now? Is it in the debug? No, they didn't remove it. I saw it earlier. Oh, it's in monitor. There it is. Color for LODs. All right, so here we go. Exactly. So I don't know. Is it going to change when it speak to have nothing but one level of detail? I don't even know why that was checked. Doesn't seem to be changing, but it wouldn't surprise me to find that those are. I had a. What was it? Because these are all hand-drawn stuff, so they may not even have much in the LODs. Where is it at? Let's try accessories. I think accessories is data-driven, right?
Most of them are, yeah.
Where's it at? Where'd it go? Did I not start accessories? Whatever. Let's see what we got in catalog browser. Let's bring in the Fika chair. This one should have. There we go. Here's something that's different colored at least. Guide me on this, Ralph. If I don't know exactly how this one works.
This is all.
Yeah, there it goes. So there's
The blue
change.
is always high, so you can.
Yep. Yep.
You have high quite a
Yep.
far distance.
Yep. Yeah, you got to be pretty in there, exactly. Well, yeah, it's pretty far. You're right.
That's medium.
Yeah, and then you got low.
So is the budget just kind of decided based on how large the model is?
No, the budget's decided based on what we view, work mode to be needing. Look how far out we are from this chair.
It is also based on the size of it, though. Like, if it takes up more volume, its budget is larger.
Okay. So that explains why some budgets are quite large and others.
I see what you're saying. I didn't look at those numbers as closely. Okay. Yeah, I gotcha.
It's like a panel frame,
Yep.
obviously takes more of a panel. Sure.
Yeah, it looks like the baseline would be 100, but depending on a couple of these other, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. I didn't catch that. Anyway, but you can see here that low is very little detail. I mean, a simple blob of red suffices. So there you go, and now it's better. Anyway, any other questions at the moment? All right. All right, so here are two topics that are not really in the, they're not in the developer tools, but they are two tools that I think are worth noting. These two things are newish. I'd say no more than a year and a half old probably. Has anybody used either of these and know of them at all? Ralph, okay. So this first one, the calc test. So there's a extension in CET now that you can, and I'll show it. There's no point in just staring at a blank white PDF. So calc test looks like this. Whoops, not that one. That one. All right. So first you create a drawing that you know has correct bill of material information. You export that stuff and you create these references. This is just an easy process. You take your bill of materials settings file, you tell it where the drawings folders is, and it's going to create these references and link this drawing and say, this drawing has this output and we know this is good. All right. Now the next step is you just have those drawings in that folder and you make a code change, something that you think does nothing. You start the batch test. It's going to open every single drawing that's in that folder. It's going to generate a bill of materials. It's going to export that bill of materials. It's going to diff that bill of materials, and it's going to tell you if there's anything different. So this is a huge thing. You know, your errors don't always come in a compile error or a crash or a bug. Oh, I guess this would be more of a bug. They often will come in, oh, I made this change, but now my bill of materials is screwed. But you don't see that. You might not be checking. As a developer, you're often counting on that being good, especially if you're using data symbol, because you just say, give me my parts, and you get parts. And if you're not checking that, you might not notice. So this is a huge tool for QA to kind of test some stuff that developers are doing. In addition to this, you can take this stubbed out stuff and you can define your own test suites. And this is where it gets really neat in my head. When you define your own test suite, it probably should be its own extension, but it doesn't have to be. But you define an XML that defines what you want to run when, for the XML test. And what will happen is you can have your automatic builder automatically fire off these XML tests every time there's a submit. And just as if how many people are using the automatic builder right now? Come on. None of you guys? Okay, good. But the auto builder, I mean, when we put that in place on Knoll, Brandon can attest to this. James isn't here right now, but it seems like it's nothing, but when you've got, I mean, and Dematic knows this more than anybody, but when you've got 7 or 8 people in a project, you're not doing auto builds, don't go too long. I mean, you're gonna get yourself, pretty much nobody's gonna be able to compile at some point. So the auto build has helped us keep our dev workspace in general in a perfectly compiling situation. But then in addition to that, you have these test suites running these drawings and opening the bill of materials, and now you've got one extra layer. It'll fail the drawing. If the drawing doesn't load, it'll fail. If the XML diff fails, it fails, and it sends you an email. Now you've got a pretty clear, easy way to at least cover a lot of the basics in your changes that you're making to make sure things are not broken. Behaviorally, you can still have bugs out there that cause problems. That's going to exist still, but if you can just load the drawing and it still exports the bill of materials correctly, I think you can be feeling pretty good that your change is safe. In addition to this, there is the PDF test, or the PDF diff. And the PDF diff, I haven't personally used that one. So it's very new. So for people who are doing a lot of stuff with, say, installation drawings or stuff like that, you can use the PDF diff, and it'll do the same thing. If you're generating your drawings, same exact process, can be incorporated into Build Center as well, I believe. You can run this diff and make sure that your output as far as installation drawings and all that stuff is still the same. And that's huge. I know I've been told, so one disclaimer, shoot, I'm actually almost at 11 already. One disclaimer is the PDF diff in 3D is a little sketchy, let's just say that. Shading makes it hard. I mean, I think it's doing a pixel by pixel comparison of that PDF. So the shading is a hard thing for it to know if did it change or did it not change, just because the shading changed a little bit. Like that calculation could have just been a little different, your camera angle just a little different, and now you're failing. So in regards to PDF diffing 3D viewports, you might want to stay away from that. One of the things I suggested to Jenny, she's the one who's writing this, is that maybe we could define like an exclusion area, you know, because I know people want that 3D viewport in their drawing. Now, if it's going to fail every time just because there's a 3D viewport in there, you guys know this, it's useless to you. So I said we need to have some way of excluding a 3D viewport at least. Like, let's just not compare those things. Or if you want, you can mess with some settings on it to like, let's see if I can find it again here. Somewhere it actually will ask you, yeah, I don't know. I think it's after you get past this screen. It'll ask you if you want to like give it a little bit of a tolerance kind of in regards to the 3D, but it still only goes so far. I don't know. I just know that I think this can be a pretty critical tool for those of you that are heavily relying on installation drawing output from CET. And I think that's going to be a bigger thing going forward. Not everybody does it now, but it seems to be something that a lot of the users are screaming for. So, yeah. And I think I had one last topic, which I think I can more or less skip. I'll just note it, because we got 5 minutes left. We'll close up a little early. How many of you guys know that, so how many of you are often doing path generation? Happens, but especially when you're doing work surface and stuff. I think you already know this. There's these tools right here. They can generate paths from stuff that you've drawn in CET and dump the code out for you. Yeah.
It can actually generate them from like CAD files as well.
This is how I used it, was we had some really funky shaped 120-degree work surfaces that I had a hard time just typing out the path.line to logic. So you just trace that, dot,
Yep.
make the shape, and it just spits it out.
Boom, got your path. That fast.
It's much faster than just trying to...
They're pissed that I haven't shown it to them before. But I actually only found out about this maybe a month ago. And I know. Sorry. But yeah, the path, they're pains in the ass to draw. So anyway, just in closing, does anybody have any questions?
On the BOM test,
Yep.
test, whatever, can you define the bill of materials without a drawing? Because sometimes you have like a typical, you know, and so say your code isn't right, so you can't generate the correct bill of materials to begin with. But can you create from a drawing and then modify it by hand to have it be the reference be correct?
No, I don't believe so. I think it simply opens, but it wouldn't be impossible to change that.
Okay.
So the code is actually, I've dove into this code quite a bit. It's pretty simple.
So I didn't know if it just made like a text file or
It does.
something that, you know, you could, or so I mean, even you could just go to the text file and tweak, you know.
You could, yeah.
Add, you know,
Yep.
the line items.
You definitely could do that. Yep.
That's, yeah.
And
maybe
there's
not
even some-
automatic, but
There's functionality. So if you're doing test suites, you can actually write code to generate the code for you that adds the drawings in. So like you'll have a function that's saying, here are my drawings that I care about. Maybe you're grabbing a whole directory, maybe you're grabbing one at a time. But usually you want to define those specifically. And there's a UI where you can define what the drawing is, where it's at, the name of it, and it'll just insert that line into the CM file for you. And that's why I suggested it would be your test would be an extension actually, because you can start putting more tools in there beyond just what the XML test diff is going to do. And we've got at least 2 people in core who are super passionate about this. So if any of you guys have issues or questions or want to take testing even farther, 2 is an understatement. I know Yoran himself is incredibly passionate about testing. So if you guys are interested in taking testing farther, I can't promise I'll get Yoran in there for you, but I can say that we can find you some resources to talk, and it wouldn't be like a, oh, let's wait 6 months situation. It'd be like, let's figure out what we can do to make this better for you. Because testing is, in my opinion, it's where projects fail completely. And it's not just the lack of testing, it's the way you test or the phases of testing that makes or breaks a project. More than a good developer, more than a project manager, more than money. It's good testing that really gives you a good finished product. I can attest to it. Josh Schimpf, probably one of the best testers I've ever worked with. You disagree? The crap that this guy would find in the work I did. It blew my mind. So, anyway.
The features that you talked about in Operator, are those coming out soon?
Yeah, I think they'll be around 9.5. I don't have a specific date,
Okay.
but I want to say around 9.5. I'm told that they've been using it for several months with no issues. I've been using it. I've been creating builds with it, no issues. It did give me a little hiccup, so it should be resolved, but the old version of Operator installed into app data, the new version installs into program files. So what it did for me was it installed 2 versions, and then it was like switching between which one it would be running. And it would be literally doing that like it was weird. And until I installed both and reinstalled just the beta, but I reported that to him, he said he fixed it. So I don't think it'll be an issue. I think when you install the new version, it's gonna automatically, take the other one out.
Is a way that you can
Yeah, exactly. You just remove them. Yes, you do. You should. You probably. You'll want to. That's funny. Because were you affected the other day? Oh, you all 3 were affected by the Perforce thing.
You didn't delete me.
We didn't delete anybody.
You deleted us.
No. What happened was anybody who was manually managed was like
Why are we doing
didn't get because you guys joined
Except
platform
John, you
before
were
we automated.
John was all right because I turned him to automatic when we had issues with his account before.
So there was a flag on your Perforce account that we can see. Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, somebody like changed the case of my name. Like it went from capital J.
Yeah,
to
that
lowercase.
that
I'm
was
like,
when
what the heck? Like, I couldn't
yours
do
got
it.
toggled.
I had 2 accounts.
It's case sensitive. The line?
No, it's not.
Oh.
It was at one point, and that was a mistake.
Oh my god. You're not recording me anymore, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, great.